Hello, this is Rebel Ray. We have been having some technical difficulties. I want to ask you to bear with us. You have entered into the Prune Tree podcast. I am your host. I am not going to get discouraged. It seems like everything has tried to get in the way of me getting back to you online and being able to reconnect. And so we're going to go forth with this and be empowered. And hopefully, we're learning lessons even in this time. So I want to reintroduce myself if I can. I am Rebel Ray, the hostess with the mostest. I am someone that you can count on to be there for you, and I hope one day that we'll be able to meet in person. I think it is one of those things that we're taking everything into consideration on what the universe is sending us. So we are sending good vibrations and good energy. Um, I'm taking in everything. It has been a minute to see everyone, and I thank you for your patience. This is actually the third time recording. This is what happens when you go live. Things happen. I'm going to ask our production host to go ahead and zoom in. I'm a little far away um, on the camera, so we're going to zoom in so you can get a little bit closer to me. I believe in proximity, and I believe that when we're together, it helps us. So bear with me. I had to unplug everything and get everything back together. And a lot of people say, Rebel, why do you go live like this? I've noticed that the most complete actions happen in real life time. You can you can feel the energy and the connectedness when you're able to connect live. And so it's a little hard for some people, but I like the challenge and I like to connect in that way. So we'll continue that platform and we'll continue that. So again, I'm Rebel Rain. Today's topic was how's your soil, right? I had went live and then the internet cut out. We had to connect to another source, but I thank you for being here with me. Um, and so when I let's talk about the prune tree. I think the prune tree came to me a little bit shortly after I knew we were going to cease with recording on my previous podcast, Against All Odds podcast. And it's been an amazing venture. We had so many individuals come on that podcast that were so powerful. We had so many stories. And I said, oh my goodness, we're doing something that transcends and supports individuals. And it supports individuals in a way that we need to hear their stories. People need to hear hope. People need to hear realness in an age of fakeness. There's so many individuals that can be so fake on the internet. And a lot of people have them unplugged. And I think people are looking for knowledge and they're looking to seek out individuals who want to go higher in their consciousness. I know even in my readings and how I connect with individuals, it's important to me to understand how to do this. And I connect through laughter. I connect through sadness. I connect through an intentional advocacy or a campaign. And so the Prune Tree podcast offers a platform for us to explore that again. And I'm excited about it. If you were looking at our recordings before this last recording, you know that I gave a shout out to my former host and brother, Art Collins. He's continuing to do his musical work and may pursue the podcast arena sometime soon in the future. So I wish him the best in his endeavors. And I thank everyone who supported us on that journey. And it's brought me to this journey here. It took me a whole year and a half to actually come back to you. And it went by so fast. But in that year and a half, I had so much ability to grow and to understand how I wanted to show up. I want to also give thanks to Creator for making me who I am. It took me a long time to love the person entirely, who I am, the way I showed up, the way I sound, the way I look, and the way I see myself growing within my own soil. I want to give a shout out to my children who often share me with the community and who loves me, and I want to acknowledge them because sometimes it's hard being a daughter or son of Rebel Ray. I'm everywhere at one place, it seems, at one time. And sometimes I have to remember to slow down and be gentle and acknowledge that I am a mother and support showing up in that way. So I give a shout out to my children. I want to give a shout out to my support systems. You know who you are. The ones that are viewing this, the one that gives me phone calls and encouragement and love and support. I want to tell you thank you and ashe. It's been a long time coming. And I feel like I'm going to repeat myself, but for those that we're recording right now, so for those that did not get the gist of what I said, I will be repeating it. So if you've heard this already, it's okay. You could tune out, but I do appreciate you for tuning in. The prune tree came to me one time in a vision, and it was a concept about the journey to the self and what the self needed to transcend, the higher consciousness that we needed. And the pruning that happens during the growth and the journey. The pruning in itself is not something that we welcome. When I look at every shero and hero, they often talk about the path that got them there. I look at every successful person, and we often talk about the path that it took to get there. And it's not a path that's enjoyed by much. Sometimes the mountaintop, in order to get to, has the most rugged and unforgiving path. The elements in itself are unforgiving. And unlike the prune tree, oftentimes it's on the mountaintop for someone to see. But a lot of times with the tree in itself, and when we're looking at this analogy, we're looking at the fact that the tree itself can be forgotten. It can stand tall, it can be small, but it goes through this growth. It goes through a pruning process that we often see happens. And it's a process that at times can be overwhelming. It can be a time where we don't trust the pruning and we wonder and we question Creator on why the pruning hurts so bad. And as I reflect, even throughout my life and the little things that I've gone through, not to compare it to anyone else, I find myself questioning those things a lot of times. I found myself questioning why. Why me? Why me, Creator? Why do I need to learn this lesson? And some of the lessons I had to learn over and over again until I learned it. And that's a continuance of that pruning. But it was for the betterment of my growth and the betterment of who I am as a person. I want to encourage you today that you have that within you to withstand the pruning. Right now, we're living in a dispensation where it's okay to front like everything is okay. I want you to know on this platform, we're going to have those courageous conversations that it's not always cool to show up and say that I'm okay, I'm all right. We look at ultra independence. And a lot of people, we look at the whole independence. And I stopped saying that. I stopped saying, oh, I'm an independent woman, right? Because although I carry myself in that way, I feel like we all often need soil. We need an ecosystem. We need a support system as our roots, and we need to be able to see our fruit. And a lot of that translate into the village that's around us. We need that support system. It's possible to also understand this analogy of the prune tree as an ability to support yourself. That you do have to stand alone sometime and go through the growth cycles and grow through the ecosystems and the pestilence and the atmosphere changes, the seasons that change. At times, we can interwoven with other organisms or other plant life, weeds that often feed off of us, or those self-serving elements that don't serve us, right? So looking at this, the Prune Tree podcast, I wanted to bring to the viewer and the listener on how we can evaluate and how we can show up as our best selves. It's been one of my close belief systems to do just that. To love yourself amongst all things, internalized, externalized, and those things that are even spoken, that are spoken over your life, that most people don't quite understand that that's not what you're wanting to be. A lot of times too, we often see how individuals struggle with the pruning. And sometimes they cut themselves off and the tree dies. And we do that in many different ways. We do it in a way where spiritual growth is a necessity, and we know we need to get back to our prayer and our meditation and taking space and unblocking the good energy and blocking the energy that doesn't serve us, unplugging from the internet, from the social handles and social media, and actually getting back to where we come from, whether it be the celestial stars, whether it be God himself or herself, whatever, how your belief system is. The earth in itself gives life. And so I want to implore you to respond to this call of action. It has been the most difficult journey to even start this podcast. Even from finding the strength within myself to show up and believe in myself. And this is a transparent conversation that we're having. I believe that sometimes you could set your bar so high, and when you don't reach that bar, you get discouraged. I had to get my crown adjusted. Come on, queens. Come on, kings. Right? You have to get your crown adjusted. You got to tap in. You got to tap into energy and good source of energy, good life source. And sometimes go back to prayer and go back to meditating, bringing and fortifying yourself to take the next journey. And it could be hard. But the prune tree is going to bring you these stories. And I'm going to keep exploring even some of the stories that I have that bring me life, that the lessons that I bring from the children that I serve. As a therapist, I often hear so many different things and I hear so many different lessons. But it's important to understand those lessons and to actually apply them to your life and what needs to be applied. I appreciate the individuals that have come into my life and taught me those lessons and even the lessons I had to learn myself. Being able to love thyself, respect thyself, and feel the need to explore and to support the growth of the self. And you can't do that without being prudent. Let's just talk about it. Being able to talk to yourself. Sometimes yourself can be negative. I know I can be. A lot of times when I get into my negative thought processes, oh my goodness, it's something that drives everything else to manifest with that negative outcome. Today, I fought to get to you. I cannot make this up. My production team is here. This is our third video. I cannot make this up. Some of you were on my first and second video, and I don't know what's going on with the internet. I don't know what's going on with our handles, but we're here. We persevered and we pushed. And I had a friend, a very dear friend of mine. I want to shout out to Miss Fayette Latrice. She's probably asleep now, but we wanted to hear from her, and we'll hear from her. She has a magnificent story to tell. She has her book out, and I have that in my bookcase here, because I sit and I read and I listen. Reading carries me away, but it also brings me the lessons that I need. And I'm thankful for that. I also want to acknowledge in this space the people that I call friend or sisters. We recently just founded an organization of women who are empowering other women to be their best selves. And so we are going to be inducting all of our members, founders of the Women's United Nationally. And it's a coalition of powerful women within the Central Valley that come together. And we were met with adversity by coming together, like all brilliant and God-given things that are supposed to heal our people. You're going to be met with adversity, but you have to persevere. I also want to thank the African American Chamber members for electing me the second VP. Will be sworn in shortly here on the 6th of February. And I want to say happy Black History Month. This is the first day of Black History Month. Me identifying as a Black American. I am very much in celebratory mode to reflect on what it means to be a Black American and what we brought to America. It has been something that I look forward to every year. This year, the People's Empowerment Center, the organization that I founded and also am currently the executive director of, has partnered with the Women's Center, a youth and family services here located in Stockton, California, that has now rebranded themselves as Prevail. And also with the San Joaquin Board of Education, we are bringing Black history today, this month on the 17th. Please inbox me or DM me if you want to know more information. I'm still looking for Black vendors. I want to be very intentional in providing space. We have nonprofit resources that will be there. We'll have spoken word. We'll have a beautiful fashion show of athletic wear, and we'll also have some dancing. But the one thing I want to uplift is the panel discussion that will be happening. And that panel discussion is a powerful panel of experts. We have Professor Clarence George of the State University, Sacramento State University. He will be on the panel talking about the history and identity of African Americans and the diaspora in the world. You'll have myself bringing in the cultural and the healing and trauma-informed practices that help shape our identity and what was not given to us that took away our identity. And then we'll have Miss Tama Brisbane, who is the poet laureate of Stockton. She'll be bringing her presence and just understanding how literature, words, and the narrative shape the identity of the African American community. We'll also have LaJuan Payne, who is an executive, large marketing executive of a large marketing firm that will be supporting business aspect, history around the Black dollar and how it was formed and how even ourselves identified as an economic value that push American economics, right? As even people, we were used to push the economics of the U.S., the United States as a whole. And then we have our facilitator who will be joining us, Romero Davis. He is an advocate for social justice in the community. And so he will be facilitating the in-depth, courageous conversations on identity. And it's important that we have these conversations. I know I'm excited. I'm excited for the things that are going to come. I want you to stay tuned to the events. We're going to be sharing events. If you would like to advertise on our platforms, please DM us or send us an email to the prunetreepodcast@gmail.com. We support every business and we love uplifting woman-owned and Black-owned business. As a social entrepreneur, I find myself taking what I have, being able to translate that into funding to support my community. And we offer a wide range of community support services with the People's Empowerment Center. This platform, the Prune Tree Podcast, serves the People's Empowerment Center and our ability to support the ongoing services. And so if you do want to give to the People's Empowerment Center, please visit our website. There is a donation button there that we support each other in doing so. And supporting, when I say support, you're not only giving back, you're giving back to our community to heal, to bring services, to bring connectedness. That's important. And so just a little bit about the host. If you don't know me, I've been a native of Stockton all my life. Traveled far and wide, and I met beautiful and wonderful people. I grew up Pentecostal, which is a very exciting way to grow up. It's a very, I would say, indoctrinated way to grow up, but it's great roots. There's a lot of great stories behind it. Touching on the church trauma, there is church trauma, right? And any child that grew up underneath the pulpit the way I did, there's church trauma. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the blessings that it provided also, and a safe space. But it's something for people to come together, and those individuals who are not practicing their healing to be able to go forth in ministry can sometimes be detrimental. And we're going to talk about those courageous conversations and how we show up in that way. And it can be difficult at times to explore, but if you have time to explore, we're here. I'm also going to be talking about some of the life events that I've gone through to support my growth. My co-host today had an engagement with his family to be at, and so he gives his regards, but I want to give a shout out to Kay Kibble. He'll be on our next week's podcast. We're excited to have him. He's someone that brings a whole different perspective. So you didn't need just my perspective. I'm awesome. I know that. I'm almost 40. It took me a while to understand that. But I value dialogue. I value conversation. I want you all to be supportive and be able to come on live and set your comments, anything that I say or Kay Kibble says to support your belief system. And then we're going to be coming with some awesome guests. We have 50 guests that are lined up this season to come on and just support and share the work that they're doing, share their mindset, their growth mindset. I'm all about growth mindset. And as you know, Against All Odds had a lot of beautiful individuals that was able to come onto the podcast. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful time that we were able to support just connecting that information. So I want to send love, peace, and blessings to you. It's late. We're able to get through this podcast in a short amount of time. And I just want to let you know I love you guys. And I want to thank you for your continued support. Thank you for the phone calls and the encouragement. And when you see me, it's hugs and it's love. And I thank my haters too. I want you to know that. I know that sometimes you don't understand how I move, and it's not for you to understand. It's for my growth and also the acknowledgement of what my ancestors gave for me to be here. And so I walk in that power, and I send power to you. Remember, on tomorrow, feed your soil what is needed for you to have the nourishment, for you to have the strength to endure this life path. Ashe.